Ooh. So the underlying energy is the Page of Pentacles. So things got real confusing. That's what it tells me in the very start of your relationship. Things were really weird, really confusing, probably super dreamy and fantasy wise. Like everything's fiction. It kind of felt like fiction. A lot of you guys may have been facing a lot of your fears at the time you guys were meeting each other. So a lot of insecurities came up, and I think that's the thing, that you guys were kind of in a very vulnerable place. And now that you guys are becoming more and more aware of yourself and your truth and what you stand by, I think that's the challenge, is accepting your truths and seeing if they're compatible or working together. Because somebody here is like super prideful, and I can see this person is really aggressive about having their way with the highway, and I feel like this can be kind of hard if there's no compromise. Some people may be like that. Someone may be just expressive and more boisterous and flamboyant, right? Because this is the card for Leo, and they know, they will be open and honest with everyone. And I think that's the thing. Somebody may be more open, more confident in themselves, carefree, very passionate in their own right. And I think that it's definitely different than the person that that you thought this person was. There's a little bit the moon does rise up confusion and uncertainty, and I think there were some things that were misconstrued or misunderstood when you guys first met, or as you guys were brought together, you started to understand each other. Some things that you may have thought worked may not be, but you're understanding each other and accepting each other as who you are, but coming out to being stronger on your truth and more firm and aware of who you are. Now, forgiving and learning is an interesting card to get here, because I think there's a lot of stuff that may have been understood and maybe may not have been, and I think there may have been some hurt feelings in the process, only because there may not have been really any clear understanding of what was going down. But that's why the Page of Pentacles is here as your underlying energy. There is some understanding that's going to be coming into this, looking at things in a closer perspective, a little bit closely, right? Looking at the details. Now, in the headspace here for both parties here, we're going to start with this side. Typically, Virgo, this would be your side, as the clients that I would read for my first soulmate investigation reading that I offer on Instago. But you guys have the freedom, as this is for YouTube, to switch onto the other side of it. This side resonates with you the most. But this person here is going into this with a bit of turmoil. Like, they're a little bit kind of confused. I think the thing is that there's a lot of changes, a lot of things that they're adjusting to. They're learning to be more of themselves. It could be that there's also there's a lot of things that's going on that they find very conflicting or very confrontational within the relationship. They see this relationship as confrontational, not in a bad way, but like this is a challenge in which you have to figure out how to overcome together, because I think there's some things that personality wise that may be clashing between the two. Now, the other person here sees this as an opportunity for love, to be open and to be open emotionally, right? Well, this person sees this as a bit of like a turmoil head mess. They like looking at this like, okay, there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of things that need to be adjusted. This person is taking this opportunity to come up with what they want, cultivate their emotions, right? Figure out what it is that they want to feel in a relationship. I think this person is, very romantic. They come into this with a bit of, like I said, a bit of romance, expressing of their emotions, talking from the heart. Like they're being very open about it. They have an open, they're starting to become open, if that makes sense. They're communicating in small ways, none of which that I feel are serious, but they have something attached to it, meaning that there are some meaning behind those words, just not like serious intent, like heavy stuff, right? It's just emotions, it's feelings. And this person's really cultivating feelings. I don't know if this person really had feelings in the beginning. It doesn't mean that they didn't, if I say that. But I do think this person is really starting to understand what they feel and understand what they want to feel. Now, that said, the Seven of Wands is coming up here, so it's showing that this person is also very defensive. Like, they have a little bit, they come into this with their heart on their sleeve, and I think they are, like, protective of themselves from getting hurt, because the King of Wands will just slay your emotions. Now, the thing is that they are not quite aware of how someone will feel about what they say. They just say it, and they feel, because they feel it's the right thing to do in the moment, right? They don't really think about how other people feel. Usually, the King of Swords is more of this, this person's just really reactionary. This person person just is who they are. They are who they are. They don't care about anything, right? Not in the sense like they don't want to hurt. They don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but if they don't, they don't recognize that the other people's feelings usually are in the middle of everything. So this person is super defensive because they're coming from a heart space, and this person is definitely coming from a heart space too, but they're being authentic to who they are, what they think, what they believe. They're not going to sugarcoat. So this person is definitely being themselves 100%. But because of that, I think this person is being a little bit cautious with how they communicate, what they say. Not in the sense of like, they're trying to make sure that they agree with you all the time, but they're kind of like honestly feeling out the waters. They're testing it. This is giving you something to, to kind of weigh on, or you are giving the other person to weigh and see how they react to it. And the defensiveness is on point because they don't want to get hurt. I think the person doesn't want to get hurt. And I feel like because the mentality is always confrontational, because this person is always on defense, this person kind of is themselves, and all of a sudden there's an argument. And that's why this person here with the Five of Wands may have this kind of feeling like every time they go into this relationship, there's this, this argument that's going to happen. There's some sort of conflict. Someone's not going to agree with how I said something, or someone's going to say I did something wrong. There's something that goes on in this relationship that feels like there's nothing that's kind of making any sense, but nobody sees this as this not potentially working. I don't, that's the good thing I see about this, is that they still see that there's a lot of stuff to adjust, a lot of stuff to work on. And I feel like this all stems from, obviously what what everyone wants, what everyone's trying to go for. Now, the reason why this person is coming off as the King of Wands, which, like I said, this could be confidence, someone that's being themselves, being truly authentic to who they are, not sugarcoating anything. I really think this person is definitely being who they are from, 100%, and they're truly confident in that. This could be also an Aries, Leo, Sagittarius here too, but like I said before, it doesn't have to be those signs. But I do kind of feel like this person here is definitely secure in themselves. Like they feel good in their energy. They're very creative. They're very well spoken. They are comfortable in their authenticity. Okay. And they're go-getters. They want what they want. And I think that's the thing with this person, is that this may intimidate them, not in a bad way, but they know, they're not sure what they want, but this person is definitely sure of it. This person is definitely sure of it. When they want it, they go get it, right? And, they want it, they go get it. So I think this person may find this person to be a bit aggressive because they're still trying to figure out what they want. So there's a little bit of that too. But ultimately, there is a lot to learn from this person in regards to how this person, not a lot to learn, but really to adjust to. I think forgiving and learning is more of like patience and working together to find an equal ground, to find, a balance between the two, because this person here is the two of, the reason why they are showing up as the King of Wands and the Five of Wands is because of the Two of Pentacles. And the Two of Pentacles talks about balancing things, keeping things under wraps, not under wraps, but like keeping the balance of things. Obviously I said that a million times, but the Two of Pentacles can also indicate that there's a decision that you're having to make, kind of weighing the pros and the cons. And I think the reason why they're being themselves is to see if this is something that they truly see moving forward. Like if they can truly commit to this, if this is something they truly want to divulge and work hard towards. Because right now they have no idea. I think the person is like completely, this is all like a guessing game, kind of feeling it out, being who they are, and that's good, right? But they're still kind of tossing those coins up, trying to make a decision about, okay, which one, what am I going to do with this? What value does this have for me? What do I want? What am I going to get out of it? And I feel like they're looking at their emotions. I feel like the Two of Pentacles, they really need to be looking at how they feel rather than what is of value, because until they know what they feel about the situation, they will have no clue whether or not this relationship has anything to offer them as far as value, or if they can see the value in the relationship. But the interesting thing is that the other person here knows what they want. It's like, well, not what knows what they want. They know that they want to be happy. They know that they want to feel good where they are. They want to feel content. They don't want to feel like, they don't want to think about the grass is greener on the other side, consider the other options. They want to be happy and certain that this is what makes them happy. They want to go after their aspiration, which is why the Page of Cups could be that this person is cultivating their own desires. They may not know what they want. At the same time, they could know what they want. Right? This person may know what they want, which is why they're very precious about it. They're very protective of what they want. They're very protective of the Page of Cups, because it's perhaps this is them expressing that. They're coming to being open about it and being honest about it, rather than being so defensive and protective of it. And I think the thing is that the King of Swords is also the indicator of clarity and truth and honesty and communication. And I feel like there may be clear, there may need to be some clear communication as to what everyone's intentions are. Because I feel like this person's intentions here is to figure out if this is something that they truly want to spend time with, spend time growing and nurturing and and seeing where it goes. And this person's trying, doing the same thing, right? It's very interesting how this reading is turning out. Because ultimately the Page of Pentacles can be an offer of long-term commitment, an offer of longevity. So I kind of feel like with this reading, it's honestly, I kind of feel like everyone's learning how to kind of get used to one another, to seeing, well, not used to one another, but seeing if there's some pieces of each other that they can tolerate, if that makes sense. Because it's a learning game, right? When it comes to dating, when it comes to getting to know someone or relearning the person, if you're already in a relationship with them, it can be difficult. It can be kind of hard. But it's most important to be honest with one another instead of kind of going into the relationship based off of old pains and old fears and old insecurities and fear, things of the dark, right? There's a lot of intuition that you have to kind of go with, but ultimately a lot of your insecurities will come up, a lot of the suspicions, a lot of the doubts, a lot of the things that you've been through will kind of creep up. And until you release those, until you've learned to forgive those, right, it's going to be hard for you to accept anyone, because you're looking at everyone through your perspective and through your past experiences, instead of being the King of Swords, knowing where he stands, knowing what he believes in, and standing by that, if that makes sense. So you guys have Yen. I like this card for you guys because there's not really much action that needs to be taken right now. There's a lot of forgiving and learning, like I said, but more of like, I feel like that's again knowing where you end and the other person begins. And Yen is going to be one of those cards that are going to help you with that process. Why? Is because you won't be overexerting yourself. You won't be doing a lot of action. You won't be taking action. You won't be doing anything other than observing, learning, and understanding yourself, understanding your partner, and being the recipient of information so you can process it and see, and to help you make the decision. Right now, no action needs to be taken. No action. What needs to be done, honestly, is just to continue to be yourself and continue to go down this road. Continue to follow your intuition. Don't worry about doing. Worry about being yourself, being who you are, letting your personality shine. Don't worry about forcing things or making things happen or creating an opportunity, because right now you have an opportunity. Right now it's about how do you use the opportunity, if that makes sense. And Yin is one of those cards, the best cards to get when it comes to trusting your intuition, when it comes to being yourself, because there's nothing better to do than to just relax and just be. And the person will either accept you or they won't. But the whole thing is, the reason why they're defensive is because I feel like they're still in the process of trying to figure out what they want. The same as you. But there's no. That's what I'm saying. There's no such thing. I'm not seeing a no. I'm not seeing a yes. I'm not seeing anything other than learning what they need to learn and forgiving what they need to forgive from their past to accept the old, or forgiving something of themselves and finding something that will make them happy. And this goes for the both of you guys, okay?